Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of my conversation with Michelle Kinnett. I hope you enjoyed part 1. If you have not listened to part 1, go back and listen to that because you will not want to miss that part before you jump into this part. So let's get started. Are you in a new season of your life? Are you stuck and searching for clarity so you can make a career change? Do you just need the courage to switch careers? Are you ready to follow God's plan for your career? Welcome to Choose Your Next Yes. Hi, Kindred. I'm Mel, a career transition coach, mom of grown-ups, coffee lover, and God girl. I've had a lot of big life changes, and I haven't always been clear about God's plan for me. This led to stress and anxiety and a lack of clarity and courage to make a career move. I finally started listening to God's voice to find clarity and peace and stopped being scared to make a move and achieve my career transition goals. Now, my mission is to help you learn to listen to God's voice and know when to say yes to the career you've always wanted and no to everything else. Let me show you how to clarify your purpose and find courage to pursue your personal and professional goals in your midlife and beyond. Throw down your self-doubt, dust off your dreams, Kindred. It's time to reset and refine and reclaim the woman you once aspired to be. And I think sometimes we do reflect, but we don't reflect the right way. We reflect on what we've lost or what we missed out on. And we never reflect on, okay, what was it that I wanted to do when I first got out of high school, before I became a full-time mom? What was it that really rocked my world and set my soul on fire a long time ago? And how can I manifest that now into something that I can do? And so I think we have to really be self-reflective in how we self-reflect. Yes, look back on that, but don't look back on it as I've lost out on all of this. Think about what you can do with it now and rekindle that desire you once had.
Yes, and that is so true because our brains just want to bring up all of the negative. And especially when we're going through these seasons of change, when it is impacting our families and when it's coming from either our children growing up, empty nest, or a divorce, or those are very personal things that we are going through.
Yes.
They're very hard. And there's a part of us that have to mourn what we have lost, and that's okay, but we can't get stuck there.
Right.
God, this didn't surprise God. He knows what you have ahead of you, and he has prepared you specifically for the season that you're in. It might be a surprise to you, but it was not a surprise to him, and he's got you. You're going to be okay. And that's what I kept hanging on to, was just the Lord just telling me that it was going to be okay. And if I was going to believe that, then that meant that I had work to do. I had work on myself to do. And oftentimes we think that we're searching for the answers all around us, but when really it's reflecting and working on ourselves and knowing how to channel, like you said, like what we're focusing on. How do we channel that? Because, the good and the bad is running simultaneously on parallel tracks in our world. And what are we going to focus on? The things that we've lost or the bad? Or are we going to focus on what's good? Because it's always there. The abundance is always there to focus on if we choose to.
Right. And like you said, we are prepared for a specific time. And if we had stepped into what God had created for us, our purpose back at the beginning, maybe we wouldn't have been as successful in fulfilling that purpose as we would now that we have those life experiences as a mom, as a wife, as someone who's worked in something different, or as a stay-at-home mom, a homeschooler, whatever it is that you have done in your past to build those experiences to help you be successful in the purpose he's created you for now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just having that confidence in moving forward and knowing that he has brought you this far I think another thing is when we come to this point and the future might look blank to us because we're not really sure. We don't remember how to dream. We don't remember how to
Yes.
envision what we might can create moving forward. We have to just hang on to the idea that he has the next step right here for us. And that's all
Yes.
we need is the next step. We
Right.
don't need the finished product. And if we can go back and look at like where we were when we started our first job or where we were when we started, whatever it is that you've succeeded in life in the last 20 years, you started somewhere
Right.
and you got through it and you
Right.
flourished and you learned new skill sets. And so I think a
Yes.
lot of times in this new season of life, it's really easy to hold back. And if there's something new to be learned, then we just assume that it's not for us.
Right.
God's not going to
And
call us to that.
yes. And I think if we did know what was ahead of us and the journey we had to take to get to our purpose and start fulfilling our purpose, I think we would probably not fulfill our purpose because he doesn't always give you an easy road there. And if you saw what was ahead, you might just back out altogether. So only one step at a time is probably the best for all of us. And he knows that. So that's
Yes.
why he only reveals things when they need to be revealed because of that very reason.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just in a practical life, I can so relate to that because I took our kids and moved in January of 2020 and to the Tulsa area. We had lived in a rural community, had always lived in a rural community about an hour south. And we moved in 2020 and the whole world shut down 3 months later. And life, not only were we going through a move and the divorce, and my kids were, I was trying to help them through it. Now we were going through this shutdown, and that
Right.
was new. And then I ended up getting sick a couple of times and having some severe reactions. And all of it, there were times that I was sitting here alone thinking, would I have stepped out and done this had I known what was coming in this
Exactly.
world? I mean, we had no idea that this was coming.
Right.
And this was the time
Yep.
that it all came together. Oh, but God carried me through every bit of it. And I'm so grateful. And I think that it's just a testament of knowing that in the future, whatever it is that I come up against, I can look back and see what I've been through
Yes.
and
He built your
know,
resilience. Yes.
yes, he did. Yes, he did. In ways, would I have chosen that? I would not have. I would have avoided every bit of it.
Right. And
But
that's exactly what I was saying. If you knew that
yes,
was coming, you would not have even started. So,
yeah,
yeah.
that's right. That's right. And life would look a lot different now. And so,
Yes.
yeah, it's just really understanding um, how to take that step in faith and knowing that God is working with us, but
Hmm.
understanding that we have to have that agency. We have
Yes.
to be willing to do the work, put in the work, and
Hmm.
whether it's the skill sets or whether it's just making a move or, whatever that is that's laid out before us, there's
Hmm.
work that God will make us do before he meets us.
Yes.
He will walk along with us, but he will make us grow to a certain point before we're ready.
Yeah.
He grows us through all of these trials in our life and failures. And, now I'm able to look at failure as something completely different
Yes.
where, it's okay if I get on and I have a video that I think is bad, or I put out a post, or whatever it is in my business that I feel like I would have shied away from, years ago as a failure. Now I just don't even think twice about it. I
Right.
put it out there and I learn from it and we move on.
Exactly. We
And
use it as a learning experience rather than looking at it as failure. It's not a failure. You just learned how to do it better or learned what not to do. So don't ever look
Exactly.
at anything that didn't work as a failure. Just use it as that learning experience and move forward.
Yeah, because we're learning as we're moving, learning as we're going forward,
Yes.
and
Yes.
allowing God to just direct it and work through it. And, I always just tell myself I am at the right place at the right time. And I know that I'm going
Mhm.
to lay that in in the lap of Jesus, and I'm moving forward,
Mhm. Mhm.
and he's going to direct this, and it's all going to come together. And it's
Yes.
just that ability to have that faith, but have that ability, like I said, to have the agency and to show up and to do what he's requiring us to do, and then growing personally through that journey. And I was a big fan of Bible study, the in-depth Bible study in those years that I was at home, because I wanted to grow. I wanted to grow spiritually. But
Mhm.
when all of this shifted, personal development became something, not that I don't love Bible study, but now personal development is something that I intertwine with everything,
Yes.
because I feel like that it is such a blessing to continue to grow and become the best version of me that I can become, because
Mhm.
now I value myself so much, and I didn't in the early years. You come right out of high school and you're beaten up by the world,
Mhm.
and you have all this armor on to protect yourself, and then you're
Yes.
a mom, and those things just don't go away. You have to work through that. And I have just come to the point of understanding that I am a firm believer that the foundation of every bit of success that we have in this life and becoming the fullest potential of what God has created us is to first understand how much he loves us, and
Mhm.
to value ourselves in that.
Yes. And going back to the personal learning or the professional learning, however you want to phrase it, depending on what your learning capacity is at that moment, I think everything we do is a learning experience. And I'm like you, everything to me is a learning experience. Driving down the road is a learning experience. Working is a learning experience. All of the things that we've had in our past are learning experiences. But if we don't look at those and really take the learning that we get from those and apply it and be agents of change, not just for the world, but for ourselves. We have to be agents of change for ourselves first and be
Hmm.
that self-reflective person. There's a Bible verse that says something about, and I wish I could remember what the address is, but I can't right off the top of my head, but where you look in the mirror and then you walk away and forget what you look like.
Hmm.
That was I the best I remember, that was in relation to the learning that was taking place at that moment. So if you
Hmm.
don't actually learn and apply it, then it's like looking at yourself in the mirror and walking away and forgetting what you look like.
Hmm. That's right. That's in James. That was something that we used to
Wonderful. Thank you
study.
for
Yeah.
remembering that. I
if
appreciate
anyone
it.
if anyone who wants to go and to reference that. But yes, that's absolutely right. And to be able to see and recognize where we are and the truth about ourselves, so that we can move forward, so that we can build on that.
Mhm.
We, especially for those who, I think we all are leaders. We are all called to be leaders, whether we have a business, whether we're leading other adults in our jobs, or even at home. And I used to always think, and the reason why I spent so much time studying scripture and just wanting to know more about who God is because if I didn't know it, then I couldn't pour it out into my children. And that
Mhm.
was where my attention was going at the time. I
Right.
couldn't lead them well if I didn't have it. I couldn't teach them. So, in the same way, if we're not learning new things about ourselves and reflecting and learning how He's created us and then being okay with it. Oh my goodness, how many of us want to shy away from how God's created us? The
Yes.
world has told us that we're too loud or we're too bossy or we're too shy or whatever it is. And we just think that everything about us is wrong. And so we pretend to be somebody that we're not, to fit in or to be who we think that the world wants us to be.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So give me some last words of advice for the ladies who are listening today, some tactical, practical stuff that they can apply.
Yeah, just going back to the very beginning of my journey, like I said, I truly believe that when you ask the Lord to show you something, He will reveal that to you. I think I believe that, Scripture tells us that if we ask, that we will receive. And if you're on a journey and you are trying to figure out what the next step is, it's going to start with you going before the Lord and just asking, what is next? And, it's going to probably take some faith in taking a step forward. And that step might be right and it might be wrong, but you're not going to know until you take it. We don't want to take the step until we know for sure that it's like stepping out into water. We don't want to step out into the water unless we know it's 2 inches deep and not 20 feet deep, right?
Right.
And we have to be able to step out before we know if it's right or wrong.
Yes.
And we're not going to know the second step or the third step or the 10th step until we are taking action and we are moving forward.
And I think we forget to do it in steps. Even myself, I pray, God, show me what to do rather than say, God, show me the next step. What is the next little step you want me to take? And so I think that is some great advice because even myself recently, I haven't been praying that way or asking that way. And maybe that's my next step for some things is say, tell me this one thing you want me to do, this one next thing you want me to do.
Yeah. And then to remember that it takes action as well. And so look around. What is it that you can actually take action on? And that is probably your next step.
Yes.
And if you feel like that in that action, in that step that you have failed, do not tell yourself that that was wrong.
Right.
And shrink back and quit moving forward because that is not right. It may have been the right step. It may not have been, but you've learned in that process.
Right.
So then you just look for the next step.
Yes.
If that didn't work, then what might work? What else can I try? And you take the next step. And I think that when you're doing that, when you're taking action and you're seeking guidance from the Lord, and you also are reflecting on who you are, take time and let God show you that you are His beloved. That was my biggest thing, was being able to just sit and allow Him to show me how much that He really cares for me and desires to take care of me.
Yes.
And that began to give me the confidence to take that action, because if He cares for me that much and He loves me and He's created me, then He does have a purpose for me. There is an action for me to take, and that gave me permission and the boldness to start taking those steps forward.
Yeah, perfect. That is some great advice. I have taken a ton of notes. I have some good stuff to put in the show notes. Thank you so much for that. Is there any last words you would like to say to the ladies listening today?
Yes. If there is anyone out there that feels an inspiration to do something different, and they know that there is something that is deep within them that they want to create in this world, or a life that they want to create, or just something new, stop holding back. Go do it. Believe that God has put that there for you. If you have that nudge and you know that deep within there's something more,
take your place.
Take your place. It's not too late to do it.
Yes, you are correct. It
It's
is never
time.
too late. Wonderful. Michelle, tell us how we can connect with you.
Yes, absolutely. I can connect with you on Facebook
Okay.
and just Michelle Kinnett. And I always love to connect with people in the DMs. So don't be shy to connect with me there or send me a friend request. I feel like that is a more personal way to get to know people, is to be able to chat real time. They can always email me at Michelle at coach@michellekinnett.com. And those are the two best ways to connect with me. My website is being built right now. So Facebook
Wonderful.
and email right now.
Wonderful. And of course, I will have those in the show notes. So you will have no problem finding Michelle. And as soon as she gets that website up and going, I will update the show notes with that information as well. All right, Michelle, it has been a pleasure having you. I really appreciate it. And for those of you listening today, Michelle and I have another little episode in the works for a future date with some more wonderful tips and tactical, practical information that you can use in your life and your career going forward. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.